Dup, dup, da, 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 dup, dup, da, da, da. Hey, it's the 1000 Comics Podcast. It's your host, Matt Heath. I'm sitting here in New York City, baby. This is it. The big time. I'm here on the Lower East Side. I chose this place because it's nice and close to Cat's Deli. Nice and walking distance. I went there last night for a big old Reuben with corned beef and pastrami. Almost had a heart attack. Rex Caesar drove me down. So first of all, Jake Bentley is the guy I interviewed in this episode. We didn't do it in New York. We did it back at my place in Connecticut. A little bit about that in a second. Let me tell you, guys, I've only been here in New York for 2 days, and I'm already having an amazing time. Rex Caesar is borrowing my car for the month of August. He drove me down yesterday, and my God, first we went to the Strand bookstore. If you ever come to New York, go to the Strand. It's amazing. The selection of books they have written by comedians is insane. I got Colin Quinn's new book I'm reading, where he roasts the 50 states. I happened to see one of Colin Quinn's other books. It was actually had one of his autograph in it, and it was like, to my biggest fan, Steve. And I was like, well, maybe it was made out to Matt. I would have bought it. I wanted to read Colin Quinn's new book. So me and Rex were walking from the Strand down to the Comedy Cellar to check out a show. And lo and behold, I look down on the ground and I pick up this Post-it note, and it said, "This is your sign. Quit your day job and follow your dream." I stuck it in my Colin Quinn book as a bookmark. Can you believe that? Quit your day job and follow your dream. That's what it said on the Post-it note I found on the ground. Before I went to the world-famous Comedy Cellar to see Gary Goldman. We saw Gary Goldman. He was amazing. I've never seen him live, and I've never seen Michael Shea live either. And Michael Shea, I guess he's been in some hot water lately for some comments on Twitter that he made. But, dude, he friggin' rocked the place. All his material on black folks not really getting the help they need with mental health, and his social commentary on that is just like really powerful stuff. Like he's the Weekend Update guy for a reason. He's friggin' smart. He's a smart guy. And after that, we went to Cat's Deli, and just like where Harry met Sally, had a big old Reuben. Know what I mean? All right, just a little ad read before we get started. You probably heard a lot about cannabidiol, or CBD, but have you heard about the plant science company taking lead in providing the highest quality CBD nationwide? At your CBD store, Simsbury, you will find the fantastic staff that creates a comfortable environment where you can get your questions answered and find the products to get the relief you need. They will be your number one source for providing quality education about products for you and your pet. They offer a full line of edibles, creams, USDA certified oils, and more, all developed under their guidance of their PhD analytical chemists and health leaders across the industry. And to back up their story, they also provide extensive third-party testing to ensure that what's listed on the products is actually in the products. They are located at 1243 Hot Meadow Street in Simsbury. That's Simsbury, Connecticut. I'm down in New York right now, but I'm still doing an ad for Connecticut. And hoping 7 days a week. Give them a call at 860-217-1433 or visit their website at ycbdsimsbury.com, or stop in for free samples and get the highest quality products you can find. Your CBD store, Simsbury, where good health hits home. Hey, if you want to sponsor the podcast, the 1000 Comics Podcast yourself, send a few shekels over to @ThankYouMaskMan. I'll give you a shout out on the show. If you send money to my Venmo, I will give you a shout out on the monologue. So hit it up @ThankYouMaskMan. That's my Venmo. this interview I did with Jake Bentley, man. You know, one of the few guys in Connecticut who's been doing it longer than me, and I got a lot of respect for him. I think he's been doing it about 15 years. Just a little heads up. When we were walking into my apartment, there was a crackhead passed out on the steps when coming into my apartment. So glad I got out of that place for a month. Now I'm just in a building where the crackheads sleep outside the building. But no, it's a really nice apartment in here. This is a beautiful little pad. You know what's funny? When I walked here, I was putting away all my clothes. Friggin' Rex Caesar picks up a book off a shelf. There's all these art books in this Airbnb I'm staying in. And he picks up this book that's on top of the refrigerator, and it's just this book of hammers, bro. Just a book of guys' appendages. Well endowed guys, too. There's construction workers, firemen, men you don't know what the hell their job is. My God. Woo! So, if you come over to my Airbnb that I'm staying here, this isn't my apartment, all right? The books in here don't reflect my views and what I like. You know what I mean? Anyways, please enjoy this interview with Jake Bentley. Welcome to the 1000 Comics Podcast. I'm sitting here with my guest, Jake Bentley. Woo. How you doing, bro?
I'm good. That's what you're supposed to say, right?
Yeah.
You're supposed to. Who started that? Who started doing the whole, like, whenever someone asks you, especially at comedy shows, that you have to, like, start acting like you're fucking Ric Flair, just start wooing?
Yeah. You know what's funny? Somebody was. I was making a joke with somebody who, and you're really into wrestling. So
I'm way too into wrestling.
So somebody that was like, was like, do you ever like notice how like fucking? Do you think Ric Flair ever was just he started doing that because he took cold showers? He was just like, woo! You know,
I
like,
can see it.
It's just because it was a cold shower thing, and somebody asked me that. I was like, yeah, sure. Ric Flair probably loved showers.
I have to imagine that is the noise he makes when he climaxes, and that's probably where it came from.
Yeah. All right. First, we got to address the elephant in the room or in the apartment building, as it were.
Yeah, the elephant in the staircase.
I invited Jake Bentley over here, and it's like, dude, I'm so glad it was you and not somebody like Chris Warren or a female or... There's literally a crackhead passed out at the bottom of the stairs in this apartment.
Oh, it's amazing. It's amazing. And
dude, he took his shoes off, got comfortable.
Oh, dude, he's fucking lounging in that staircase.
Yo. Dude,
he's got a teddy bear, I think.
Dude, I have to move out of this apartment building. I have to move out. Now there's no way around it. Because I've seen some stuff like that before, but now it's like, I can't have guests over with freaking people passed out down there.
I also noticed the number on your door, on like the front door, fell off, and I think I might snag it on my way out. It's still sitting there.
Yes, the number on the door. But did you notice that there's numbers on every door on the way up here, but not one in front of my apartment specifically?
I did not notice that.
Which I kind of like it that way. I kind of like there to be, like, I don't know, especially I thought, like, hey, if I become famous while I'm living in this building, they won't know it's what one's mine because the number is not in front of the fucking door.
That's true.
Yeah.
Probably works great for credit checks, too.
That was really, like, because I'm definitely going to, like, in my mind, I'm going to reach fame before I reach riches with the fucking crackheads passed out down there.
The funny thing is, like, tomorrow morning, someone is going to come to this apartment complex thinking, like, I might live here, and they're going to go to give them a tour, and there's just a crackhead passed out with a shoe off, and he's slobbering on a pillow.
Is it? And now that I have that picture, because I took a picture of the guy.
Can I see the picture?
And I'm glad I got a big guy like Jake Bentley here to be standing behind me when I was taking. Imagine if he wakes up, he's not doing anything though.
Yeah,
he's out. He's out, man. Like, I mean, I would be kind of nervous about like if I was like on a lower level about getting robbed or something. But like, dude, there's no way he's even making it up 2 flights of stairs.
I was gonna say there's in no way do you pass out at the bottom of a stairwell like that, get up and like, fuck it, I'm gonna climb 3 flights of stairs to rob someone.
All right, do you think I could get out of paying my last 2 months of rent with the picture of the?
That's such a great.
Do you think I could break a lease with this photo?
I'm not a lawyer, so I am not sure. But you know what? If you're persuasive enough, I don't see why not.
Because I want to get out of my lease,
How long do you have left on it?
Until October.
Oh yeah, you might be able to.
You think I'll get out of this lease? Like, listen, I can't deal with this shit every day. Fucking crackheads passed out. It's hot as hell in the summertime. I just want to get out of here.
Hold on, is crackheads passing out there a regular occurrence?
Well, he's not the first dude I've seen passed out.
I was gonna say because
it's not the same dude. That's like I mean, it's weird because it's like he is a black guy. But, like, race has nothing to do with it. Sure. You just don't want crackheads passed out.
Of any color. Your apartment building needs more diversity. We need white crackheads passing out. This is 2021.
Yeah, look, I gotta move out so a white crackhead can move in, so we got blackheads passed out at the bottom of the stairs, white crackheads passed out at the top of the stairs. You know... You can't have comedians living in the building.
The best part is when you came out to meet me in the parking lot. It was just like, hey, I wanted to come down and meet you so you wouldn't be alarmed by the crackhead who's passed out. And it was very clear this was not a one-time occurrence.
You're like, yeah, the fact that I'm not surprised by it at all, and it's just like, it's like a regular thing.
It's fantastic, and I don't think there's a better way we could have started off.
I'm going to play this podcast for my dad. And whenever I go over to his house, he won't be like, I'm tired of you staying at my house and acting like it's a hotel, all right? Well, it's like, Dad, you don't understand. When I'm at your house, it's like a vacation compared to where I fucking live.
Do you, make him check your bags in for you? Does he, bring you...
No, I think it's more about me just, eating all the food in the refrigerator and then,
But if it's like a hotel, he gets to charge you $600 for the bag of Doritos you took. That's a great deal.
Yeah, I don't know. I just lamp when I'm at my dad's house,
Sure.
And then I don't know. I buy him beer, though. I go get his cigarettes for him and stuff.
That's a fair trade.
It's more his wife that just doesn't really care for me.
See, I'm in the opposite scenario where I have my mom be like, "Can I stay at your house 2 days a week?" Like, no.
Really?
Yeah.
Wait, so you're married? You have 1 kid?
2 kids.
2 kids.
2 kids. Well, one perfect angel and 1 tiny little asshole.
Okay.
Is how I.
An older girl and a younger boy.
You hit the nail on the head.
There you go. So, how old? What are the ages?
So, my daughter is going to be 10.
Okay.
In August, and my son just turned 3 the day before yesterday.
Right. Okay.
So yeah, he's in his little fuckstick mode where he's just a little piece of shit.
Yeah.
Who I don't even think his brain has thoughts at this point. It's just an algorithm of what's the most fucked up and inconvenient thing I could do right now.
Right.
To my parents. So that's what we're going through right now. We're in the drawing on the TV stage, throwing fucking hard.
Boys will be boys.
Yeah, that's.
And then and it's even harder when you had a girl first, and then it's like, oh, kids are easy, and then you have the boy, and it's like, oh shit, this kid gets into fucking everything.
So my daughter at that age was the sweetest little kid. She just wanted to play with you. She would bring little plushies, and she would sit on the couch, and she'd hand you one, and she'd be like, "Can you play with me?" And then we'd play things my son is an asshole. I just had my appendix taken out,
right?
And he likes to pull my shirt up to look at the scar, And this morning he did, and I'll let him do it because he's whatever.
Yeah.
And so I let him like pull my shirt up to look at the scar. He fucking like chops me, like he just slaps the appendectomy scar,
right?
And like while it's still healing, and I was ready to murder him.
You're like, what the fuck? You don't. It's like you don't even understand where it comes from either, right? It's like, where does this aggression come from?
You know, actually, I do because he's fucking me. That's what it is. Like he's me. He's the way I put it all the time. It's my daughter's name is Eva, and my son's name is Ronin, like the wandering samurai. Because I guess I'm a fucking weeb.
Right.
Like we always say, like, Eva's the smart one, and hopefully Ronan will be good at sports. But he shows like evil genius sometimes, like little levels of like Dr. Doom. He's so fucking manipulative.
Right.
Like if he wants something, he's gonna get it out of you.
Well, you know why they say like boys are like so bad at that age? It's all because of the Oedipus complex. He really wants to kill you so he could be with your wife, which is like I'm not implying that he's gonna end up like weird when he's older. No. It's something that actually all young like baby men go through.
Well, he's oddly into feet, so he is a little bit weird.
He could be the next Quentin Tarantino.
I'm hoping it's just like one of these weird toddler stages that he's gonna completely forget about, but like. Anyone comes over wearing flip-flops or not wearing shoes, he's all over.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
That is kind of strange.
It's so weird.
Yeah. You know, like, it's funny talking about your kids now, because you don't, like, talk about your kids in your acts all that much.
Nah.
No.
I mean, I do a little bit.
Yeah.
I have a joke about like, I mean, it's not about the kids directly, but, like, about, like, my wife being pregnant and stuff like that. But yeah, no, I don't bring him into it a whole lot. I don't know, like not really my style to kind of like do like the whole family thing, unless I'm making fun of my parents because they fucking deserve it. I love them, but they fucking deserve it.
I hear you. You know, honestly, like, well, we'll talk about you. It's just like what you've been doing comedy for 15 years.
Yeah, this year's 15 years.
That's longer than a lot of the people I know that have been doing it. You walk into a room and you're like, I've been doing this fucking longer than anybody.
Except for
a lot of the time.
Yeah, I mean here as far as like Connecticut comics go, I think Johnny Benson, Dave Sheehan, and Donnie Salvo are really the only people still doing it who predate me.
Really?
Yeah. Anybody else? So when I first started doing comedy, it was literally Johnny, those two guys. There was a few other Connecticut comics, Dave Padilla, Mike Garb, who, you know, have kind of bowed out, aren't really doing comedy. But aside from that, it was mostly, like, Johnny was just propping the scene up with New York comics. That was Connecticut comedy.
Right.
In a nutshell. It was extreme comedy. And I think when I started, like, Treehouse even was, like, on a hiatus. There wasn't even Treehouse shit. It was just Johnny Benson in extreme comedy. That was the only thing that was going on.
Right. But you know what's weird though? It's like I haven't started to get to know you till like just recently. You know, where it was like, where were you like when I started and like the whole like when I was going through the whole Joker's Wild phase.
I popped into Joker's a few times.
You did,
and I did see you in Joker's.
Dude, but why don't I remember you?
I didn't go a whole lot. So like, I kind of went through a weird thing with comedy where when I first started, complete like Dunning-Kruger effect.
Right.
I don't know if you're familiar. You're a teacher. So, okay.
What is Dunning-Kruger effect?
So Dunning-Kruger effect is basically a phenomenon that exists in humans where when you don't know shit about something, you are super confident in it. And you're like, I know this inside and out. And then the more you kind of learn about whatever the subject is, you start to realize, oh shit, I have no idea what this is. And eventually at some point it kind of evens out. And I had a lot of Dunning-Kruger effect in comedy. Like when I first started off, I thought I was like the best thing out there. I thought I was like the hottest shit. I was like, I'm going to be on, you know, SNL within this amount of time. And then as I really started to see like good comics, I realized like, holy shit, I don't know what I'm doing here, and I'm not nearly as good as I think I am. So I started in 2006, And I did a couple years like that. And then once I got to the point where I was starting to realize, like, I'm not as good as I think I am, I made the mistake and I started kind of pulling back a little bit.
Right.
I had actually moved out to California.
Which is not the thing you should do, because if you want to get better, you got to do it more.
You got to do it. And I use the kids as an excuse, too, when my daughter was born. Because it's a great excuse. Like, I have a kid now. I can't go out to, do stand-up all the time anymore.
Right.
But I really should have been pushing through that and trying to get better. But I didn't do well with, like, not feeling like I was the best. And I'm like that in general. Like, I have to feel like I'm the best at something. And sometimes I can get myself there and sometimes I can't. But I'm starting to feel like I'm hitting that sweet spot where my confidence levels and my knowledge are kind of evening out now. But yeah, I went through that bad end. When Jokers was starting off, and I made a bunch of excuses not to go to Jokers. It was far for me. Where
were you living at the time?
I was in Middletown.
In that same place where you're still at?
No, I'm in Burlington now.
Burlington, okay.
Yeah. So the drive, and then actually the big thing, and I think it is a legitimate thing. I won't pay to do stand-up comedy.
Right.
So I didn't I went a few times because like Derek Carafa was going in.
But the open mic, you didn't have to pay to get in.
You did, yeah.
You? Yeah, maybe in the beginning. I don't think you did after a while.
Oh really? Yeah, because when I went a few times, I had to throw like $10 down to get on the list, and I wasn't
really
happy about it. Yeah. I think that was when. I think that was after Vinnie Beetle, and I think it was Dan Calwhite who was running at that time.
Well, when I started going there, Dan Calwhite was like kind of running the room.
Or was it Pat before?
Then Pat took over. Then when the place got new owners, like Vinnie Beetle, like they hired Vinnie Beetle to fucking start running shit there, and it was
okay.
It was a completely different vibe. He might, I don't know if he was before Calwhite at some point, but when I started going there, Calwhite was running the room.
I remember I was going when Pat ran it.
Yeah.
And then actually I think I was at Pat's first show.
Yeah.
If it wasn't his first, I think it was his first show. If it wasn't, it was like his second or third. But like I think I started doing comedy like right.
What was that like? Was that at Jokers or
no? So it was at this place called the Chunky Monkey.
Really?
In Cheshire. It was booked by actually this guy named Greg Dubno. He's an awesome guy. He actually passed away in 2013. If not, I think he would still be doing comedy. Like he'd be one of the the Godfathers running around here. He was a great guy. But Greg had booked the show at the Chunky Monkey, and we didn't even have. There wasn't even a microphone.
Right.
We just had to like stand up in this like.
That is god awful.
Yeah, it was like a second-rate Starbucks, and like we just stood up and it was like this. It was like a Lilith Fair concert was the audience.
Oh my god.
Like no one was boozed up. They didn't serve alcohol there. There was no microphone, and it was just a bunch of like menopausal women who were just like offended at everything that Pat and I said.
Yeah.
We actually bonded from that show. And
all right.
Yeah.
So where was your first time doing comedy?
My first time doing comedy was the Hard Hat Cafe in North Haven. Donnie Salvo, actually. So I had a friend named Brett who I went to high school with.
Right.
And Brett just calls me out of the blue one day. Like, dude, I used to work at Hollywood Video. Dude, like, called up Hollywood Video to get my phone number.
Really?
Because this was past high school and we hadn't seen each other for a few years. But we were friends, and comedy was one of the things that we kind of bonded over.
Right.
And he called me to let me know. So his mom was actually working with Johnny Benson.
Right.
And he was like,
Isn't it great that how that like really dates where you like the story is so dated just because you work at a fucking video store.
Right. Like it's an entire industry that doesn't exist anymore.
Right?
So we met up at the Caldor. Yeah, his mom was working with Johnny at the time as a booker, and I mean it didn't end well. Yeah, they invited me out to. They were doing like a bus tour of like all the New York City clubs. So that's actually where I met Donnie, Johnny, Dave Sheehan, Greg Dubno, a few other people too. And I was picking their brains. I sat on that. I picked Johnny's brain. I picked Donnie's brain, and I was telling Donnie like, hey, how'd you get into it? Where'd you start? And, I was telling him like I want to do this too, and he just happened to be booking a show at the Hard Hat Cafe in North Haven, which was right down the street from where I lived. It was walking distance, so I was like, fuck yeah.
Right.
I wanted September 22nd, 2006. I still have like an extreme comedy business card that Donnie wrote his telephone number on.
From the beginning, huh?
That's
awesome.
I still have that card. I saved it. I wrote the date on it, and it's kind of like my memento.
Really?
Memento from when I started stand up. It's really cool.
I wish I had fucking some Joker's memorabilia, because my first time was at Joker's Wild. I wish I still had something tangible. I mean, I got a couple pictures on stage, and actually there is a video of my first set ever.
The building's still there. Let's go take the number.
Let's go commandeer fucking Joker's Wild, huh? Let's just fucking take over the building. No one gives a shit.
I mean, I think it went under because the guy who's sleeping at the bottom of your stairs was the one running.
Oh my god.
For a second there, so Matt actually just went to take a drink of coffee. I thought it was a bottle of Robitussin at first.
I wish it was.
That would be a fun podcast.
Dude, I'm so glad I have you, like, a veteran of comedy on tonight, and not like a new. It's been like a slow roll for me to get back into podcasting. I was coaching baseball. I lost that job. Friggin', one of my ex-girlfriends died.
Yeah, I remember you telling me that.
Yeah. So, and then the girl I was dating at the time turned out to be a fucking nut. She started, like, fucking deleting fucking numbers from my cell phone and shit. Like, and, like, it just, like, completely unraveled that she was, like, this total control freak. And I just had to fucking, like, stop communication with fucking everybody for a fucking minute there.
God, that's fucking awful.
And it was like...
So you call this number too much. I'm deleted. Bitch, that's Pizza Hut. That's stuffed crust. Don't take that away.
So, like, dude, I don't know. Like, my whole I've been going through this whole grieving process. Dude, I sold my TV the other day. I rearranged my whole friggin' apartment. Like, the bed used to be on that side. Like, that stand used to be there on the other side with the TV. I'm trying to, like, make it so, like, my life isn't centered around television anymore, which is almost ironic, being that I just made a made-for-TV comedy special.
Comedy special, yeah.
But that's totally, like, a part of it, man, where it's like, I feel like I need to be talking to somebody that's been doing it for 15 years, because I feel like I had, like, almost like a like, this, I don't know if it was an epiphany or, like, a manic episode or, like, a psychotic moment. Like, right before, like, dude, my ex died. I found out about it. Like, I find out
like right before your special, right?
I find out about it like Tuesday when I'm like inviting dudes that I used to work with at the pawn shop to the special, and they tell me that she died, and I'm like, holy shit! And then it's like I'm recording a special Saturday, and I'm like, I'm like putting like the stool on stage. I'm getting everything ready. I'm turning on the lights for the special, and I'm like. And the thought runs through my mind, like, why didn't I put this off?
Yeah, no.
Why didn't I put this off? And then it's like fucking, like, I feel like I'm having a manic episode coming on. People are about to start walking through the door to come see this shit. And then it's like, well, it's too fucking late now. It's too late to call off the special now. I can't get on the microphone and be like, yep, I'm too sad to do a show. And it was like this whole wave of, like, dude, now granted, I don't know. I think, this girl died in the same way my mother died in a car accident.
Shit. That makes it so much worse.
It makes it so much worse. But, dude, I started doing comedy a couple weeks after my mom died. Like, that's how I grieved. Yep. And now
in a way, it's like now it's happened fucking double. You know,
Yeah.
my mom dies. I start out as an open micer. This girl dies the same way whom I was intimate with, and then boom, I'm a fucking headliner.
You got a special, yeah.
And I don't know how to fucking feel about it or what.
And it makes sense because like after the show I remember going up and talking to you and like you just had like you weren't like visibly upset but like you can almost see it. I was just like my thought was like you didn't do that bad like what? But that makes a lot of sense that like that's what was kind of turning in the gears behind that. How did you feel like you were able to compartmentalize that?
I didn't at all. Like honestly, it was like because I brought the stool in my special with the girl that has passed on. Her name's Iris. She autographed that stool one time when she was over my apartment. Her name's on the right dead center of the stool. So
yeah, I think
I was that. Like, I'm just gonna do this show in the memory of her. And then it was like I felt like the whole special is like this existential crisis, but it's like all my jokes and material are wrapped like it's really just an existential crisis with jokes peppered in it. But I think that's what it means to be a headliner. I don't know.
It gives it some soul, if nothing else.
But something, I feel like the if you look at a one-man show, like that, not comedy specials per se, but like the whole concept of a one-man show, it's like it's all the ups and downs of a person. It's not just funny. It's like the other side of that coin. You see, like you're supposed to see like a multitude of things in a person, not just funny. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, I got you. And that was a great crowd you had too.
Yeah.
By the way, for that special. But yeah, no, I can definitely see that. And I think you could even see that going on in your head, like as you were, like I said, I thought you were just kind of upset afterwards, but no, that does make a whole lot of sense.
Yeah.
Now. No, and you mentioned that she had passed away like at the show, but I don't know. I guess I didn't put two and two together that was kind of the thing.
Yeah.
Ticking behind the eyeballs for you.
It's weird though. It's like I don't know. I had like my heart set on doing it, and I did it, and it's like I did it like regardless of like any tragedy. Like I had to, but it's like a part of what it was is like I don't know. I'm just glad to be back doing regular shit like this podcasting and stuff, man. Like.
So what made you think like, all right, now is the time. Like I know you talked to Johnny, you got the date. What was kind of the ticking in your head that was like, no, this is the Matt Heath special rather than like I'm gonna go book a headliner and I'm gonna host this shit.
Well, it was something I've been working with these guys that have been filming the comedy scene for a while.
I love James and Kenny, by the way.
James and Kenny Compton. There's these guys that they wanted me to start bringing them around the comedy scene so they could start filming stuff. And I'm like, what about me? I want to do a thing. Like I want to like cause like I want the 3 camera setup. I want the thing, and I knew they were capable of doing that. And I had been running all these showcases, it's like I feel like, when you get into that producer, side of the business, it's like I had started producing for other people, I started producing shows where other people were the headliner. It's like, well, I finally want to turn headlining, like. So I've been like I think a part of it is it's like a midlife crisis almost because I started at 21 and this year I'll be 30, and it's like I want something tangible.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
That makes sense. And it's kind of weird because I'm just kind of getting into the booking side of it now. I'm booking my first show at the Elbow Room July 17th.
Yeah.
I think this is kind of what I needed in comedy. I always kind of like just like found someone to like latch onto. Whether it was like, you know, starting off Johnny Benson, like Pat Oates was booking me for a while, and I was just kind of like, you know, I would do whatever Pat, you know, kind of threw my way. Dave Sheehan for a while. He didn't book a lot, but every time he did, you know, he usually threw me up. Brian and Kate Clancy, which I know they're kind of, you know, persona non grata in Connecticut comedy. And I don't know, with them, I get if you don't like their comedy. I get like I think you.
Hey, I never said I didn't like their comedy or anything.
Yeah. No, I don't mean you. I mean just in general, like the scene. And I know some people don't like the way they book things, but I'll say like I don't think I've ever met two sweeter people.
Yeah.
Like, you know, like I've seen like people who have like medical bills come up and like they're throwing fucking shows together to, you know, like raise money because someone can. So, you know, I know they're kind of getting shit on right now, but I don't know. I'd stand by them no matter what, because they're fucking sweethearts. I love those two people. I grew up in like a super fundamentalist evangelical Christian. It was a cult basically. I mentioned it in my set tonight. Yeah, it was pretty bad. And like the like everyone's like oh, you got to be like Jesus. What would Jesus do? How would Jesus react in this? But like I've never seen that. You know, like I've never seen anyone like put who espoused that, who put somebody else's needs above their own, who would put their money up for someone, and like I think those two are the first people I've ever seen that with. So I got some love for them.
All right, well, I'm glad you did the whole Brian and Kate shout out. Like honestly, like me and Brian have been beefing since I took over the time, and it's like, dude, he feels a way about me taking it over. I feel that I just picked up a ball that no one was playing with at the time, and that's all there is to it on my side of the story. He claims that I stole the mic from him. You know, whatever. I really don't want to get into it because I actually just posted a podcast where me and Vince Barry talk about it.
I'm sorry to like pull that in here. Yeah. I didn't. I didn't mean to go down that road, but I know they're kind of perpetually getting shit on, and I wanted to show them the love. They're really great people.
I mean, they're still doing their thing, and it's just like honestly, like I don't know, because of the pandemic, it's like I feel like so many comics are falling into this fucking Zoom purgatory, where it's like people aren't going out anymore. I could start doing Zoom shows, and it's like, well, when do you fucking get out of that?
Yeah, I don't know. I'm really hesitant about the Zoom shows just because I don't know. I need that feedback. Mm-hmm. I need to hear people laugh. I need to, and it's one of those things. Like it's tough, and like I wasn't doing open mics for the longest time, but I was still writing new jokes, but I wasn't trying them out because like in my head, like I know what I think is funny. I trust what I think is funny. So for the longest time, like I wasn't trying things out, and I wasn't. And it's not a great way to do things because you can always learn to, you know, kind of cut the fat. You can always learn to like tone up the jokes and things like that. And crowd reaction is the best way to do that. But you know, I don't know. Like I kind of need that response, even if it's just validation. We talked about this actually right before the show. It's like I do stand-up comedy because there's a part of me that's a huge narcissist. I love this being up on a stage with people looking at me and feeling like what I am saying is important enough where they had to come and pay money to listen to what. And it's like this weird part of me, you know. But like that, I think you need that a little bit to be a stand-up comic.
Well, I don't know. If you look at the greats, I mean, they all were narcissists. Like,
sure.
Like you look at a dude like Bill Hicks. Like, you a big Bill Hicks fan?
Not a huge Bill Hicks fan.
I don't know.
But he's good.
George Carlin?
Yeah, everyone loves Carlin.
But like, there's no way Carlin's not a narcissist.
Yeah, no, Carlin's 100% a narcissist. I mean, the back end of his career was just he didn't even write jokes. He just said shit. Yeah. He just spewed his political opinions and people ate it up. That's a textbook narcissist.
Yeah,
and he was great.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's crazy. It's a show business is just a crazy fucked up business, huh?
It is, and comedy's in kind of like this weird purgatory in show business. Like we mentioned this too. It's like comedy, stripping, and wrestling are just kind of like in this weird like off-center offshoot of the entertainment industry, where it's more of a grind than anything else, and it's a lot more rejection than anything else.
Well, you know, it's weird. It's like facing the same rejection kind of like over and over. You know what I mean? Where it's like, well, I'll just give you an example. Like, I did the Cafe 9 open mic the other day. I got on stage, I tell a story, and Dan Calloway like lights me early, and then I'm like, you're interrupting my story, and then he's like, I don't know, he made some comment to like completely throw me off, and I get off stage and I'm like, like I feel like he's like bullying me like he did when like fucking like I was 21 and I'm like nearly 30 now, like, well, and I'm just running that through my head, and then I'm like, wait, he might be the only true friend I have because he's the only one that'll take me down a peg if I'm not being funny. Well, you know what I mean?
We both got lighted early at a Vinnie Beetle show recently.
Nah, I just fucking did my shit at that Vinnie Beetle show. I didn't give a shit who was doing what.
Yeah, that was. I mean, it was fun. It was a rough one though. That was the best worst show I've ever been on.
But the fact that we even still do Vinnie Beetle shows is like that. I mean, that's a part of comedy, right?
Yeah.
Because like, dude, it's like famous people are doing Vinnie Beetle shows now. I was on a fucking Vinnie Beetle show with Artie Lang as a headliner. Like, that's the world of comedy.
Yeah. There's another one who kind of gets shit on a lot. Like Vinnie, as long as you set like parameters with Vinnie and you're like,
exactly,
this is what I'll do, this is what I won't do, no, I won't give you money. Vinnie Beetle's the greatest guy in the world.
Yeah. Most of the people that hate Vinnie Beetle is because he fucking they think he ripped them off.
Right.
Where it's like, you were the one that was dumb enough to give him money in the first place.
Exactly.
The guy's first name is Scumbag. It's Scumbag Vinnie. That's fucking his title.
Like if you're smart with Vinnie Beetle and you draw the lines like I have gotten more money than Vinnie Beetle than I've ever given him. Mm-hmm. You know, which is like nothing. I've never given him anything. But Vinnie Beetle's paid me to do shows. He's paid you to do shows.
He's paid me to do shows now. It's like you just gotta you just gotta learn. And know if you do give him money, you're never going to see it again.
You're never going to. And you know what? I think part of it too is, I think like getting connected with Vinnie was kind of like you and I, where, you know, I started doing comedy forever ago. I think Vinnie started like when I moved out to California.
Right.
So like our paths never crossed when I was a new guy. If I was a new comic, I probably would have fell for that shit.
So you went out to, how long were you in California for?
I was in California for, I think it was 2008 to 2012, so about 4 years. My wife was in the Navy.
Really?
Yeah. It's actually funny. My friend Brett, who I referenced before, who actually was the one who gave me the call to start doing comedy, he actually joined the Navy. He did his time there, and then when it was time for him to get out, he was driving back because he bought a car out in San Diego.
Right.
And he asked me to, you know, come out there and drive back with him. So I did. And while I was there, I actually met my wife. She was
really,
she was in the she was in the Navy with him, and he was actually introducing me to her. As I found out later that she hated him, and she was actually actively trying to get away from us. Before, because she saw Brett coming, and she's like, I don't want to talk to this motherfucker. I don't want to meet his friend, because anyone who's friends with Brett is probably a piece of shit.
Okay.
I said something to her. I don't remember what it is. She can't remember what it was. But she said it was like the most genuinely funny thing she ever heard, and I think I hooked her at that moment.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and we kind of talked for the next few days after, exchanged phone numbers, and I left thinking like, you know, she's cool, she's cute, but never going to see her again. We just kept talking, kept doing, you know, texting and stuff like that. And then I actually went out to California to, my whole thing was like, I'm going to try stand-up out there. I want to get into acting. I want to do this. And I had relatives who were living in Los Angeles, so I went out there to Los Angeles, and I stayed with them and tried doing shit. And Los Angeles fucking sucks. It's the worst. I lived in this like little apartment complex with my grandmother's sister-in-law. And there was like this tiny little apartment complex filled with only old-ass Armenian people. Yeah. And when you walk out, to the right is Sunset Boulevard, and then the street over on the left side, it's a few blocks down, but it's Hollywood Boulevard. And after about...
Aren't those like the streets?
Those are the streets.
Those are the streets,
and
right?
after about a week, I was so fucking bored out of my mind. Like,
really?
It's very touristy. Like, once you get past, like, the initial, like, oh, cool, like,
I've been out to L.A. and I've been to, like, isn't, like, going to the fucking, like, Comedy Store just to watch, though, like, amazing all the time? No?
I didn't want to go to watch at the Comedy Store. I wanted to go to perform at the Comedy Store.
But that's how you get in, though, right?
So, yeah, I was going to say, they have, like, I got so discouraged with the Comedy Store because so you would go to sign up for it. The sign-up started at, like, 3.
Right.
And there was, like, hundreds of people signing up.
Right.
And they did a lottery.
Really?
Quote-unquote lottery for who got up, and they would only pull, like, 10 names. And it just so happened to be the same fucking 10 names every week.
Really?
So I got really frustrated, with that.
All right, you hear that, Adam Egan? Come on, bro. You couldn't put Jake Bentley on once during this so-called lottery you have? I'm calling you out, Adam Egan, because I watched that Comedy Store documentary not too long ago, and I know you're the guy that runs that
Adam,
shit.
I'll have to write that down. I mean, that was also...
He's Norm Macdonald's sidekick.
Is he?
Yeah.
I mean, that was also... Shit. It was 2000.
Did you ever meet that guy? No. That's the guy you got to talk to, I think, when you go in there. That's probably... It's too bad they didn't have the Comedy Store documentary series while you were there. I think you might have known the ins and outs of it a little bit better.
Right.
From why it's like, oh, that's the right kind of fucking talk to,
And the San Diego one wasn't any different.
Yeah.
I thought it would be because it's like, oh, it's San Diego. Who the fuck is in San Diego?
What about the Improv? Did you ever go over there? No.
No, that's actually kind of at the point, like I was saying before, where, if I'm being honest, I was making excuses to not do it because I wasn't confident in myself at all. If I knew as much as I know now, if I felt the way about my act that I feel, I would have been there every week, putting my name in that hat. But right place, wrong time kind of thing.
But now you're the guy that gets to ask to run the Elbow Room every fucking week for some reason.
It's because I'm actually running it with Johnny.
Yeah.
Like I'm usually at the Saturday shows because Johnny lives in Milford.
Yeah, of course.
It was kind of it's a big thing for him to drive an hour every week, and I don't even have to hop on a highway to get to the Elbow Room, so I'm kind of the local guy who's
right,
like running the shows in his stead when he can't make it down. So comes with the perks.
Yeah. I could fill in for you if you ever need me to. Like I'm always here, man. Fucking A. Like, and I love the Elbow Room. And
it's a great room.
It's the room's done a lot for me, so I'm willing to give back. Like,
right, yeah.
Like when you walk down the stairs this morning, I'm like, I already turned down the lights for you. I got the mic up and running. Like I care a lot about the process. Like, just getting my time is not like I feel like if there's any like young comics who are like listening out there that are like just starting, it's like your time on stage is like really only a part of like what will make you a headliner. It's like having respect for all aspects of the process, like having respect for the wait staff and having like you know what I mean?
Yeah,
like
no,
it's
absolutely.
like there's every little piece of what it is makes it what it is. I don't know.
Yeah.
I guess I'm not articulating that.
No,
well.
I get it. I honestly, I think hosting that done wonders for me too.
Yeah.
Because I try. I don't know if you know. I try not to do. I will every now and then, but I try not to do my jokes.
Yeah.
I try not to do my set because it's the same fucking people there every week. They unless I'm trying to like workshop something or try like I don't want to be sitting there and doing the same bits that people hear over and over and over again every single week. So, I used to do improv, and I think that helped me a lot in comedy.
Right.
And this is kind of the closest I've gotten, back to that. So, no, that's been good. And I don't know. I like just keeping the mics going. I don't like doing a whole shit ton of time in between people. Just throw out a little like one-liner comment on their set.
I feel like hosting is what makes a comic good. Like, don't you think like it's like taking the lumps as a host and like running your own room and shit like that is what will make you a good headliner someday. You know what I mean?
Honestly, I think I've grown more as a comic in the last few months hosting, the Elbow Room mic than I did probably the first 5 or 10 years.
Really?
Just, showing up to do so. And part of it is there were no open mics when, I started. Like, I think there was like one in Bridgeport. Ann Kissel, I think, was who ran it. She's the Roseanne Barr impersonator.
I do not know her.
Connecticut comedy used to have a Roseanne Barr impersonator. Yeah.
That's awesome.
I don't think I could be wrong on that, but I haven't seen her in years.
Yeah.
But yeah, she read it. It was funny because, and that started a few years after I got into comedy, and I remember going up to one of those shows with Greg Dubno, and there was like this kid who went up, and it was like his second time doing stand-up comedy, and he's like, yeah, stand-up's such a grind, like, and he starts like going out talking about like, he was just going on like he was like this seasoned veteran who has done all that, and like you can count the number of minutes he's done in stand-up on one hand.
Yeah. You know what? Who kills me is that new kid that's coming to the and he's only been on stage a handful of times. That kid Capiche.
He was on tonight. Right?
Yeah, I forget his last name, but fucking A, dude, he's only been on stage like 3 or 4 times. The kid's only 20 years old, and he's doing like fucking like he's trying to be like a Middle Eastern Jim Carrey almost.
He is a little bit, and I talked to him a little bit today, and he was doing a lot of impressions,
right?
And not bad impressions. They were pretty solid.
Yeah.
And I was just telling him like don't gauge how you're doing at an open mic comics don't want to hear impressions.
Yeah.
That's the last thing. But
him taking a beating from the open mic comics,
full on wrestling bump. Yeah. Never mind.
Yeah, it's like him taking like a beat. Like the beating he'll get is gonna make the fucking like the actual like payoff of the the audience like even better. Like. The thing where he throws himself to the floor, he should not have done that in a room full of comics.
No,
because
you save that.
It's like, dude, yeah, you save that for when you're actually in a room full of like fucking people that want to fucking see something like that.
Yeah, it's actually funny. The last time, like kind of going off the impressions thing, the last time I did do a Joker's, like, and I never went back after that. I thought it was the funniest thing. This new comic pulls me aside and asks if he can give me some advice, and I was like, all right, I wanna hear, and I was doing a Christopher Walken impression in my bit, and I know like people kind of like, oh, the Walken's hacky, everyone does the Walken. Not everyone does the Walken. Everyone does Jay Moore doing Christopher Walken. They do an impression of an impression,
right?
It's just like the talking pattern. That's how they do. And Christopher Walken doesn't talk like that, and he doesn't have such a monotone speech. It's not A B A B A B. It's a flow to him. He's a real person. Like I like doing a real Christopher Walken impression. Okay. There's not a whole lot of people.
But that's what it's about. Like, dude, it's just like people say Walken's hacky, but like at the same time, I probably haven't seen somebody do Walken like in like 5 years
because
at a comedy club because like people like it's a stigma now not to do them. But if you enjoy doing him, it's gonna like translate to the audience.
It is, and so there was actually a table there of audience members, and that's who I was playing to. And I did the impression for them. They loved it. I got laughs. I didn't give a shit what anybody else was doing. So this kid pulls me aside after he's like, you shouldn't do the Walken impression. Like none of the other comics, like that stuff. I don't give a shit what the other comics think or what the other.
And that comic's name was Matt Heath. I might have fucking said something like that back then because I was a fucking asshole.
But yeah, like it was just like like none of the comics who hang out at Joker's are gonna none of them are gonna like spend money on Matt Heath t-shirts. None of them are gonna go to the Matt Heath comedy special and buy tickets. None of them.
But you know what's weird? It's like this Hartford crowd of today is like, I enjoy it a little more than the New Haven crowd of back then.
Oh, definitely.
Because it was so cliquey back then. Yeah. Dude, like, comics would judge each other so harshly. Now it's kind of like fucking, like, hearing this, like, fucking new Hartford crowd that we got. It's like, just fucking do you and, like,
and there, I mean, there's
whatever.
There's a lot of really promising guys. Like, I mean, just from some of the people who show up at the open mic, Gage Moreau, Austin Apostle, I think he's fucking hilarious.
Yeah.
Like, I have not laughed that hard at like a local comic in a long time.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a few others. I'm blanking on names right now because I just started smoking pot and I'm at the point where
you know what it is? I think some part of the climate of fucking jokers and fucking being down in Little Italy, it's like, well, if you want to make it in this world, you gotta fucking do it like this, Like, where it's like, what the fuck? Like, it's comedy. We're all in it to have fun.
Right. Exactly.
Like, it's supposed to be fun.
And it is now for them.
Yeah,
and it wasn't
is.
Back
then. And it wasn't. And it really wasn't back then. Yeah. Yeah. I think we just hit the nail on the head, bro. Who was, like, your favorite comic growing up?
That's actually a really good question. I watched so much. I remember like the first stand-up special I got glued to, and I was like, I love stand-up comedy. It was actually David Spade.
Really?
He had an HBO special. I think it was called like Take the Hit or Take a Hit, something along those lines. And it was a lot better than you would expect from David Spade's stand-up comedy. And then after that, I really got into like the Comedy Central Presents stuff, and like Mitch Hedberg, Dane Cook.
Oh, Mitch Hedberg, I love. Like, and it's. I was making fun of somebody the other day, and I said the kids just eat them up. Like, so it was some like headliner that was like giving Nick James advice, and now I remember who it was, but I don't want to fucking like out this headliner that's like, and I'm like, oh, the kids just love him. They eat his shit up like fucking Dane Cook CD.
I like Dane Cook got really bad really fast, but like his stand-up, his Comedy Central Presents was really good.
No, his Comedy Central Presents is what really turned me on to him, made me love him. But it's like when I started doing comedy, a couple of years after being into comedy, I went back and listened to that Madison Square Garden CD he did, and it's like, dude, that's the material you're bringing to fucking Madison Square Garden?
It wasn't Madison Square Garden. It was the TD Bank Center in Boston. And I know that because I was there for that special.
And it wasn't even fucking really Madison Square Garden?
No, it was TD Bank.
No.
His HBO special?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was in Boston.
Really?
Yeah.
So he never did Madison Square Garden?
He might have for something else, but his HBO special was, because it was a big thing, because that Boston was his hometown, and it was like a big homecoming thing. He did, I think he did like, oh dude, it was like 6 fucking hours. It's funny because like kind of talking the full circle thing, I became a huge Dane Cook fan from his Comedy Central Presents. He lost me at his HBO special because it was 6 hours of comedy and maybe an hour and a half of it was good.
Yeah. I don't know. It's dude, back to the Comedy Central Presents though. I think that's what really made me want to be a comedian. Dude, it's like, I think like Harlan Williams, Comedy Central Presents. His was one of my favorites. And dude, when I would see it come back around on fucking Comedy Central, I'd be like, oh shit, like the Harlan Williams one. Like that one was my favorite.
And yeah, it's kind of funny because there's definitely, now that you mention it, you can definitely see some Harlan Williams influence in your comedy. Like it's there,
Dude, I love that bit that he did in the Comedy Central Presents where he's like, if a girl's wearing thong underpants and she grabs her pants. Does it just split right in two?
I remember when he hosted Premium Blend.
Right.
And he would just do little bits of that. And he did this dumb song one day about, like, all the things Premium Blend wasn't. And it was, like, the stupidest material, but it was fucking hysterical. I loved Harlan Williams.
Oh, yeah.
Actually, like, one of the
Have you ever seen him live?
No.
I seen him do Comics Roadhouse, and he was fucking amazing. And the place was packed, and oh my god. He's a good one to see live, man.
I definitely want to check him out. Trying to think who else. Actually, speaking of the Comedy Central stuff, like one of my favorite moments as a stand-up comic is Johnny did a show with he put Lisa Landry on, who like I knew of because she had a Comedy Central, presents, and she was actually one of the first like women who was like, holy shit, they're like, they can be funny, and so like getting to open up for her was kind of huge. That was big. Trying to think. Other ones.
Well, let me just ask you this, because you're very influenced by comedy, but I know you're also very influenced by wrestling. Who was your favorite wrestler growing up?
My favorite wrestler growing up was Bret Hart.
What?
Yeah, I've always been a contrarian. Like when everybody loved the Chicago Bulls growing up, I loved the Phoenix Suns. And I would have sworn up and down that Charles Barkley was better than MJ because I'm a contrarian. When everyone's like, oh, the Dallas Cowboys, that's my team, I was a Miami Dolphins fan. And I was like, Dan Marino, that's the guy. With wrestling, everyone's like, oh, Hulk Hogan. And I was like, fuck Hulk Hogan. Bret Hart. It was still a tag team at that point.
What year were you born?
85.
85. Yeah, so you're a little older than me, too. Like, I was like, when I was a kid, like, the big ones were like, like The Rock, Mankind, like and that was my favorite, was Mankind. Then it's like later he becomes a comedian, so I'm like,
who I absolutely loved. I liked him growing up, but I got a real appreciation when I met him. Was Rowdy Roddy Piper.
Right.
That one, like when he died, that legitimately upset me. I think I mentioned I used to do improv.
People always talk about that movie They Live, right?
Yeah.
The one that I do. I still have never seen that movie.
You should see it.
Yeah.
So I used to do improv with the New Haven Theater Company.
Right.
And one of the guys I did improv with worked for the Bristol paper. And he kind of hooked me up with this wrestler named Kurt Adonis, he's a local, independent wrestler. He's retired now, but I think he's the ring announcer.
Right.
For New England Wrestling.
Right.
Or Northeast Wrestling, that's what it is. And so he was actually hooking me up, to get training to become a wrestler. And they invited me to one of the shows and stuff. And Roddy Piper was actually on the show.
Right.
So I was like, oh shit, like, I'm going to fuck with Roddy. I was like...
you actually told me this story at Vinnie Beatles' show. You remember? But no, I tell it again because I want the audience to hear. Because I do like this story.
Yeah. So I was backstage there, and I went up to Roddy because I was like, I'm gonna fuck with Roddy because he does these independent shows all the time, and I was like, I'm just gonna see if I can like confuse him and make him think we've met before, and see how he fumbles his way through it. And so I walk up to Roddy Piper, and before I can say a word, he grabs me by the cheeks, the face cheeks, not the other ones, and he just pulls me in and gives me this big bear hug, and he goes, "It's been forever, you're looking good," and he starts like squeezing me and hugging me, and he just beat cancer at the time, so like I grabbed him by the shoulders after the hug. I was like, "I'm looking good, you're looking good, way to kick cancer's ass." Like I tried mimicking the Roddy thing, and we spent like 10 minutes there like reminiscing and pretending we were going to keep in better touch, and like he was the coolest fucking dude. I was like, he went up 50 notches in my book after that. So when he died, that one kind of stung.
I'll bet, man. You know who used to come in the pawn shop I used to work at was Big Van Vader.
Really?
Yeah. Dude, when I shook his hand, like, I was like, holy shit. It was like, I felt like I was shaking a ham with fingers, bro. I was like, this guy's enormous. Like, but like, dude, I was laughing for days, like, after he came in and I met him. I got there's still, like, a bunch of autographs of his, like, laying around the pawn shop. And, Yeah, I was pretty bummed out when he died because
he was like 6'7", 500 pounds, something like that.
Well, it's funny because one of the guys I worked with at the pawn shop was just like, he was like, oh, he was real excited to meet him, and he was like, oh, okay. He's like, can I get a picture? And like, he's like, let's make this quick. Gotta get something to eat.
Which is the best answer you could ever make.
And dude, that's all for fucking years after that was that quote. Like every time lunch rolled around in the store, I'd be like, and fucking we were dealing with a customer or something, let's make this quick. Gotta get something to eat.
I have a hard time meeting wrestlers now.
Yeah.
Because it was just, and I don't know exactly when the switch happened. I'll go to like wrestling shows with like Johnny Benson and there's always wrestlers there who will take pictures, and I'll do it with Johnny, but it's so weird, like walking up to this guy who's supposed to be this larger than life character, and then I'm 6'5",
yeah.
I'm 6'5", 300 pounds. Like most of these guys, I could throw around pretty easily.
It's because you want to be a wrestler, like on the inside.
And it's just, I don't know, it's so weird. And I was actually going to train to become a wrestler, but I kind of bitched out. And the reason I bitched out was because it was one of those things that, like, the timing, it was, like, everyone was doing that, like, slam yourselves on thumbtacks and take fluorescent light bulbs over the head. And I was like, nah, I want to be able to walk when I'm 70.
Right.
So I stopped doing it because of that. And I wish I just put up with it because that went around for like 3 more years and then that was done and over with.
Well, there's a guy who was on this show that I had on. His name's Mike Mazza. His wrestling name was Mike Pacifica, and he I guess he fucked up his back and stopped wrestling. He became a comedian. You would get along famously with this fucking guy.
That's awesome.
And he was one of the last people to wrestle Big Van Vader.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah. He got Vader slammed too.
Or the Vader bomb?
Vader bomb. That was it.
Vader bomb.
He got the Vader bomb, and who knows? Maybe that's why he fucked up his back.
I could see it.
Oh man. We just hit an hour, and that's usually when I stop. But I don't know. Is there anything else you want to talk about? You want to throw in there? Is there anything you want to promote? I know you got anything coming up? Shows or anything?
Yeah. I mean the one I mentioned on July 17th, I'm going to be booking.
July 17th.
July 17th.
The Elbow Room, West Hartford.
Donnie Salvo, Kirsten Logan, Dave Sheehan.
So old school. Going old school with it.
Yeah, and so. I mean, Dave, I wanted to put on because, like, Dave's one of my best friends in the world. But, like, Donnie, I was like, I have to put Donnie on the first show I booked because Donnie gave me my first show. And it's a full circle kind of thing.
I like it, man. Dude, I'm so glad I had you on the show. I feel like I feel like this podcast is back now.
It's back.
It's back. I'm back, baby. I'm back. Jake's here.
The crackhead's here.
I'm going to walk you out, sir. Thank you so much for being here.